Hello. Hello, Joe. I can't hear you though. You have to
Hello.
unmute. There we go.
You can hear?
Yes. Yes. So what
Oh.
seems to be the story, Joe?
Why is that the most difficult thing to say? Uh, I mean, I guess I didn't realize that we were starting this already.
Why not?
So why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess I don't really know where to start. The story, it just feels so relevant to talk about, honestly.
Yeah. It's irrelevant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It very, very much is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like now coming, I guess, face to face with Emerson, it's like,
It's also
oh,
irrelevant.
yeah. I guess that doesn't matter. All right.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's,
it's
it's
free to
just a
talk
story,
about
so it
whatever.
doesn't matter. Yeah.
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 Okay. Um, I guess I can talk about like where seeking started because it's definitely not there anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
But where it started was like about 4 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
I started with YouTube, as
Yeah.
did sure quite a few. Yeah. Um, with Vsauce. I don't know if you're familiar with that YouTube channel, Vsauce.
No. No.
He does a lot of like he talks about like different scientific ideas,
Okay.
paradoxes, illusions of time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember one video was labeled or titled "Is anything real?" And that seemed to like start something. It
Yeah.
was strange.
It's like a
Yeah. So
catalyst or something. You're like, what?
it really was. It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah.
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 And basically from that point, I just apparently watched every video I could possibly watch of his.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of them talked about like infinity, but not as like more of like a conceptual infinity. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
count to infinity or count past it. He talked
Yeah.
about how like there's like an infinite amount of numbers between 0 and 1, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was so intrigued by this idea of infinity. So
Yeah.
intrigued.
Yeah.
So from there, he also talked about consciousness. That was a
Okay.
huge thing.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what is this consciousness? What is this
Yeah.
idea? Awareness. What is this?
Yeah.
And again, YouTube was the primary catalyst.
Yeah.
And that's mainly where I did most of the seeking.
Okay.
I got into this other YouTube channel, like it was like actualized.org or something. And
Oh yeah.
his
Yeah.
content, yeah, very much like talked about unconditional love.
Yeah.
Um, again, more consciousness, but instead it was more like consciousness being like a substance of everything and
Okay.
this and
Still very
that.
conceptual, right? You know, it's
Very conceptual. Yeah,
very
exactly.
conceptual. Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember taking a lot of notes on his stuff and
Yeah.
wanting to understand it conceptually.
Yeah.
And I figured, and he talked about how like there's no inside or no outside. He
Yeah.
had these awakening experiences live for everyone. I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
That was with the 5-MeO DMT, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And he said that you don't necessarily need to take that in
No.
order to do
No.
it.
Yeah.
So I did it my own way, which was smoking weed
Okay.
and doing edibles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Because I noticed that there was a way, like I was able to have these profound experiences without any of the other stuff
Yeah.
every time I smoked. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Now there was the whole like it's hard to talk about it, but like I just remember doing this edible one time, and I think I mentioned it in the chat at one point. It was I felt like like something I heard this noise. It was like a high pitched like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
kept going louder and louder and louder, and then
Yeah.
complete cut, like gone.
Yeah.
Like the top of my head was sliced off.
Yeah.
And I
Fun.
looked around. Yeah, yeah. Terrifying, terrifying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like looking at a piece of chicken and being like, what is this thing? Like, what is
Yeah.
it? It's
Yeah.
stringy, it's and I remember eating it and it was so primal, like just like
Yeah.
an animal.
Yeah.
Like no care about whether I was being messy with it or whatever. It was
Yeah.
just looking at a video game and not knowing what it was. And I felt connected with like
Yeah.
I was the Xbox, I was the room. It
Yeah.
was it
Yeah.
was profound. And I had a few more of those, you could call them experiences,
Yeah.
and it led me to basically I ended up being homeless. I don't know how it's connected. It's probably not connected at all, but I was
Nothing is,
homeless
but
for
but
yeah.
go ahead.
As a story, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just joking. Yeah. But not really too.
So yeah, yeah.
But go ahead,
So
sorry.
so after all that, apparently I end up being homeless, right?
Yeah.
And that is when a lot of like things started to just completely crumble. Beliefs, ideas of what this
Yeah.
was.
I have shared a homeless story before too when I was in my
I'll have you.
early 20s or maybe 19 even, that when I was homeless, there was just this freedom that I can't
Yeah,
explain because you're
yeah,
not a part of society anymore. Like you're an
exactly.
outcast and you don't
And
have an identity, and everybody
no,
doesn't have an identity, right? And it's just there was just this, so there's always an affinity towards the homeless, characters out there. And I
mm-hmm.
stop often and talk to a lot of them, right? And but go ahead, sorry, go ahead, Joe, sorry
No, you're
I
good.
interrupted you there.
Oh, please interrupt. It's fine. I actually like listening to other people's stories rather than telling my own. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, no
uh,
worries, no
oh
worries.
my goodness.
That's
Sorry, let me
okay,
just
that's okay.
mute that. Um, all right.
One of the most profound meetings that I had was with a homeless character, and this is when there was already no sense of self already, and
Yeah.
there was just something, so I talked to this homeless character and found out the story that he was a stockbroker, which is a lot of people actually end up homeless when their
Hmm.
stock crashes or something. I don't, that's just another story. I can't really verify that, but he was telling me anyway that when there's a lot of shame and everything, but when you lose everything seemingly, you also lose your identity of what you should
Yeah.
be and what, so it's a loss, and it's very similar. And I said, why don't you go back into society? And he goes, why not just stay here? This is also it. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of clarity
Yeah.
from that
Yeah.
homeless character, right? There's a lot of
Exactly.
clarity. And
I mean,
but
it's
yeah,
just so beautiful. It really is. Like
it is. Yeah.
just that idea. And I'm actually technically not homeless now. I'm
Okay.
more in like a transitional housing.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran apparently.
Oh
So
wow.
I actually was, yeah. So
How old are
I was
you?
given 23.
That's a young dude. You could be my grandson.
Okay.
I'm 52. But no, no, son. Sorry.
Wow. Wow. 50, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of this
You know
happened.
that joke with the 50-year-old DJ?
No.
There
Oh.
is this Halloween costume, I was walking through like a Halloween. There's a Halloween costume called 50-year-old DJ. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a costume." But go ahead, sorry.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's very odd. Like that it happened apparently to me like while I'm so young, because I'm
Yeah.
getting reminded of that constantly by like other apparent people,
Yeah.
and they're always trying to like tell me like teach me a lesson or something,
Yeah.
and my lyrics actually show very much like one of the lines that was made up was like, they put me on a path of misdirection,
Yeah.
but I make my own path, don't need a lesson, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's like there's nothing wrong obviously with them trying to teach me this and that,
No,
but I'm
no,
like,
it's just what is, right? It's just what
yeah,
is. There
yeah,
was a there was a young there was a young character that I talked to maybe for about 10 minutes
mm,
about your age, and it was done. And he was
wow,
just curious about what this is, and he encountered, the videos and everything, and he was curious about it. Similar to you, was listening to a lot of there's no space, there's no time, there's no thing,
yeah,
and that piqued his interest, I guess. And again, one of my videos called Time is an Illusion, and I think he watched that, and he goes,
mm,
okay, you know what, I resonate with that, but I don't understand it. So the first
right,
thing that I said is, there's nothing that I will say that you need to understand.
yeah, no,
Not about
nothing.
understanding anything.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not, and it's
Yeah.
so obvious here now that like it doesn't matter,
It
like
doesn't
whether
matter.
like
Yeah.
you can know the words, but like I'll be like, I've tried to record videos just talking about it, and it just goes off into like a whole tangent of just nothing. And I'm like, wow. I'll literally pause the video and just be like, what did I just say? Like, what was I just talking about?
Yeah.
I don't even remember now.
Yeah.
And memory seems to be a big thing now. Like, it used to be so, there's so much weight with like the trauma and all that, and now
Yeah.
it's just huh, I guess it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, it
Um,
doesn't matter if happened, didn't happen. It's just another story. Story, no story,
yeah,
whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
just I was talking to someone earlier. I'll post a video, I think. And
mm,
he said, oh my goodness, the words are just coming out.
yeah,
There's no source to the words. And
yeah. Even now,
even
it's
now,
just
yeah,
coming. It's
even
just
now,
yeah,
there's
it's
no
happening.
thought behind the words, and the thought behind the words are just the thought, which does not really happen as well. So there's just this directness and immediacy of
You
whatever
know,
seems to be happening and not happening. But go ahead.
seemingly that seemed to happen though. For like, I can remember a point at which I felt like I was thinking before I was speaking, and now it's like there's no thought. Like it doesn't even come up as a thought. If there is a thought, then there's a thought, but it's not like I don't know how to describe it. Like so heavy, like almost like I would be speaking to someone, and there'd be like like a whole nother script running in my head at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And
Yeah.
so I want to say so I want to get back to like
Yeah. Sorry.
the
Sorry.
story. No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
It's so free. It's everything. Yeah. Um, so along with like with the YouTube stuff with actualize.org, he mentioned non-duality. Now, I would
Yeah.
always look up words to
Yeah.
like I'd be like, oh, what is this concept he's talking about? What is that? What is that? He talked about non-duality in one of his videos. That seemed to be where all of this stuff was stemming from, and of course, that ended up being more like applied non-duality because he's like,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
figure it
Which is
out. We
okay
can
too.
figure it out.
There's nothing
It's all
wrong with
right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
And now I watch the video sometimes, and it's like so humorous. I'm like, this guy is like he's yeah. It's funny. It's
I
funny.
used to watch him too, constantly. And again,
Yeah.
no disrespect or anything. It is what it is, right? It's just also what is appearing as that. But now I
Mm,
can't seem to watch any videos about non-duality anymore, including that. Because
really? No.
it's just well, it's okay. There's nothing wrong or right about anything, right? But when there is just yeah, it just becomes comical because there's some seriousness sometimes from him, and that's what's funny when he becomes serious. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I
It's
do. Yeah.
um
I like
like
his more when he's more like wow, like that
yeah,
stuff is like yeah, man,
yeah.
it's so wow.
I
And he's like, you know, there's a way you should be or shouldn't be, and this and that, and it's like,
yeah. I got hooked up with a couple of people, from the DMT TikTok, whatever.
mm,
So there's a popular TikTok dude that I was talking to. We did kind of like a little bit like this an interview, and it was very similar, very, very similar, right? And
mm,
and then after that conversation, and he was like, I just realized that this conversation is basically saying that my whole existence of DMT taking does not really matter. So
No.
it invalidates my whole channel of TikTok. And he goes, do you mind if we don't release it? I'm like, no, no, you don't have to release it. But there was just an openness that it's not really relevant. And
No.
that defeats the
No.
purpose of his whole channel. But go ahead, sorry, go ahead, but your story. I keep on coming up with
You're
this.
okay. You're
Yeah, yeah,
really all right. I'm
yeah,
very open to,
yeah.
apparently, to interruptions or whatever. Um, so yeah, so the non-duality thing, that led me to, I looked up the word non-duality. I heard about like Advaita Vedanta and all that. And then I came across Jim Newman.
Yeah,
He was the first intro into
yeah,
non-duality.
yeah. The
And I
gateway,
remember the first video,
the
yeah,
gateway
the
drug.
gateway. The first video was, so this is it.
Yeah,
Not only is it everything and blah, blah, blah. And he went on from there. And I was just completely stunned.
yeah,
For a long time, there was just so much silence. Like I couldn't even talk.
yeah.
I couldn't talk. Like it was like no words.
Hmm.
And I just watched video after video after
Yeah,
video, waiting for another one to be released. I came across your channel. Who else? Tony Parsons, Tim Kliss,
yeah,
Kenneth Madden,
yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
And I watched over and over and over and over and over again, like multiple times. I'd watch your videos multiple times,
Oh,
apparently.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It was that intense. And I guess what Joe was seeking was the end. He wanted death. He
Yeah,
wanted the end.
yeah,
And he got that, apparently.
yeah.
As I said, when I was homeless, I had the unfortunate, um, I came across a substance known as spike, which is basically like,
I heard about that. Tell me about it. Yeah,
so it's like synthetic weed, basically.
yeah, yeah.
Um, it's basically some chemicals sprayed on some like,
It's like what do you call it? Bath salts.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I did a whole bunch of other stuff too, which I'm not going to talk about, but uh, the spike seemed to be the one that really just blew apart everything. I remember
Yeah.
the first time taking it or smoking it, I took maybe one or two puffs and I tripped basically. And I remember everything as it was, as it
Yeah.
is. So like I could see, I guess you could say I could see objects. I don't, it doesn't really matter, but like here's like a key card.
Yeah.
But when I was looking around at everything, all the colors seemed to like merge together.
Yeah.
Um, there was no like border between anything, and I could see all of time happening at
Yeah.
once. So I was looking at my hands, for example, and I saw my own birth
Yeah.
for one, and then I could see hands aging, like literally like being all wrinkly
Wow.
and everything. It was terrifying, and it was really, again, it's hard to like describe it now because it's just this,
Yeah.
but this and not this. I
Yeah.
was seeing something else that I can't see normally.
Yeah. I think you were there. I noticed that you were in a breakout room in one of the meetings. I should have said hi. Were you there at the last meeting?
I think so. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't remember, but
Um,
yeah.
it's about the moment that we label it, we think that we know it, but we don't know anything because there's no we that knows it.
Yeah.
So the visual is matched with this seeming understanding of what you're looking at. I'm not looking at Joe. You're not looking at Emerson, but go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's seen quite. It's
Yeah.
quite obvious.
It's obvious. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the feeling of it is quite. Yeah. It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the words don't.
They don't match.
No. Because I'm saying it and almost not believing it while I'm saying
Yeah.
it. So yeah.
It's unthinkable, it's unspeakable, right? But yet it appears as words. You know what I'm saying? But the words are just like dream languaging. It's like a foreign computer language or something. It's like a
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't match. It's like a silent movie that there's like this interpretation, but you're like, no. And that's why, it's kind of like when I had a lot of silence, I could not, every time that I spoke, there was like, it's muddying it. It's making it, it can't clarify it. But go ahead, sorry.
Hmm.
It's mumbo jumbo.
It just feels, yeah, yeah,
But he must be so great to be a rap artist, like a lyricist, right? Because there is complete freedom now, because it does
yeah,
not care, right? So that's what I kind of do, speaking about it. I was like talking to someone earlier, and I said, I laugh a lot because it's so absurd that I'm talking about it when it can't be talked about.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
even one of my Instagram posts, which was like I basically said a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. But that's also it.
This is this,
Oh, you're freezing there a little bit, Joe.
it can't be escaped. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and is that better?
That's better. Yeah. Repeat
All
what you
right.
said. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Uh,
Oh, you're cutting out again.
so someone had commented on the post
Oh, you're cutting out. Just a
saying
second,
that's a
Joe.
lot of words to say nothing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Repeat. Okay, so you made a post on Instagram, and then go ahead. Sorry. That's when it froze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and someone commented saying that's a lot of words to say nothing.
Yeah.
Um, just pretty funny because it's like, well, that's also just labeling that as being words. So
Yeah.
I said something along the lines of, well, if it's nothing, then were there really words there?
Exactly.
That's just another interpretation,
Yeah. A lot of people
really. Yeah.
seemingly get stuck on the
I was
concept of
like, yeah, I
nothing.
said nothing. Exactly.
Yeah. There's and it's just what it is, right? There's seemingly a stuckness in the idea of nothing. It can't be put into an idea. You know what I'm saying? It's not something.
Mhm.
It's not even nothing. It's just what is. And that's why there's this, when you share those beautiful lyricism, it's what is. And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
sound like anything at all. Like, it doesn't have to be, because it's just nothing, not even nothing.
I think the biggest thing is like the fact that nothing really changed.
Yeah.
Like it really didn't. You know, whether you say that you're seeing objects or not, it
Yeah.
doesn't. That's still like
No,
what is an yeah, what's an object? But I don't.
it's despite of the experience, despite of whatever is said, despite of any words that come out, it's
Mm.
unchangeable. You know what I'm saying? It's always been this way, so to speak, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like,
Always seen, been seeing, hearing, sensation. And I actually there was like a thing that I said. Oh wait, are we freezing up?
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Is that better?
Why don't you log out and log back in again? I'll pause the recording. That
Okay.
could, there we go.
Okay. I love technology. That's great. I can't remember where we were. Doesn't matter,
Likewise.
huh? So where are we? Wait, what's
I have no
happening?
idea.
Nothing. You know, it seems to be really easy to talk to like other non-duality folk,
Yeah.
whereas like talking to like someone that may have never even heard of the idea of non-duality is like I don't know what to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
I,
I have some best friends from high school, right? That have no idea what I'm talking about. And my biggest mistake was adding them on my Instagram. Um, um, they laugh at my post, like, what do you mean by that? It's just this. We were in the car and we were like in hysterics. They're like, what are you posting about? What is non-duality? And I'm like, I don't know.
Uh, yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about. Oh yeah, you were talking about lyricism. That's it. Someone was posting,
Oh,
and then someone made a comment that that's a whole bunch of whatever, nothing. It's you know what, any argument about what this is a moot point, because there's really nothing to debate about. Um, because it already is. It's just always this. And any word that seems to come in and commentaries or whatever are just basically like noise. You know what I'm saying? But it's also silence. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've just, I guess I've been like trying, not trying, but say any words, it just breaks apart. But from a stories for story's sake,
Yeah.
trying to like engage more with like other like
Yeah.
apparent humans, just
Yeah.
seeing them as like being human, not as like, oh, that's just a body, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, talking, and that's been like a, I guess, a problem for a long time. Is like
Yeah.
I spend so much time by myself,
Yeah. It's
and I
it's
really
really
enjoy it.
isolating, this seeming kind of like, in the apparent beginning anyway, right? Because there's really no one to talk to about this.
Yeah.
There's really no one to talk to. And when you talk to your friend or whatever, they it's one of my friend thought that I was on mushrooms, like I had to call one of my best friends, right? I'm like, dude, there's no one here. It's already. And I was just like for about a couple of hours mumbling. And he's such a good best friend, right? He was like, yeah, bro,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. And then a month later he goes, hey, remember when you called me and you were like talking, like um you were so excited about whatever. I didn't really understand what you were saying. Were you on mushrooms? I'm like, oh, like
Yeah,
no.
it does seem to. I had the unfortunate, um, like when I was interested in the inactualize.org, I was talking to like my parents about it,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
yeah, yeah, my mom, she was very much like, she said, "That's not my son. Like, I don't know who you are anymore."
yeah.
I went out, like, I really convinced myself that I needed to be homeless. That was kind of part
Yeah.
of it. It was like, yeah, I gotta leave home.
Yeah.
Little birds gotta fly out of the nest,
Yeah.
and I did it. And I mean, I look completely different than I was before. So now I got like kind of like short hair,
Yeah.
and I still had a beard, but I had like really long hair when I was on the street, and
Yeah.
like, um, it was just, it was so strange though. I went through almost like this biblical like phase. Like that's what it felt like. It was, um, no, like seriously, like that's from a story point of view, like it was very much like rebirth, and especially like with dying, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was constantly reminded, like,
Was there a lot of suffering as well in that? Well, I
there's a lot
guess
of
so.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of
There was a
suffering.
lot of suffering. At
Yeah.
one point, I can remember I had nothing.
Yeah.
At least conceptually had nothing,
Yeah.
item wise.
Yeah.
I just had like the clothes that I had on. I mean, I even went back to, I remember this one night, um, I didn't have like a shirt on or whatever.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, I wasn't wearing a shirt. And I was
Yeah.
just walking around outside, no shoes, no shirt, and I just felt naked. And
Yeah.
I hit some bushes,
Oh,
and I almost felt like, yeah, almost like Adam and Eve, for example,
primal.
uh, primal. And I was like, it's terrified. I was like, I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And and I was like, it was so strange. It was so strange. And
It is when you lose everything, right? When I took a bold move to kind of like, move out on my own, so to speak, and be in a city. And it was a part of my seeking, right? Just to have, I come from a very tight knit Filipino family, so to move out like when you're like 18 or something is such a kind of like what? It was such a big deal, right? And I tried to make it, but I didn't make it, so to speak. So I could not pay my hotel that I was staying at anymore. Not even a hotel, sorry. It was a YMCA that I was paying 20 bucks
Wow.
per night. And and then they
That's
locked
a,
they because I could not pay my rent anymore. So they locked my luggage, right? So when I came back, um I had my luggage in my hand, and I had nothing anymore. Like I lost everything. Like I haven't even told this story to my parents because they would have been, oh, why didn't you call me? So here I was walking down this street, and
I gotta do it
um
alone.
and it was scary at the same time, but there's no other choice at that moment. And here I was gonna like going into this homeless area in the city there in Vancouver, which is a pretty
Mm,
scary area, right? And I sat there, and I'm like, I don't exist anymore. That was one of the glimpses that I've had. And
yeah,
everybody did
yeah.
not exist. They were basically uh persona non grata or something. You know what? All the rebels and all the people that have been kicked out, are there. And I was one of them. I didn't have an identity anymore. People would pass by and they would not even pay attention when I was busking for money.
That that right
Right?
there. That was
Yes.
like that was the biggest thing. It was like I could just sit there. I wanted to
Yeah.
see how long I could do it. How long can I just sit here and
Yeah.
just have people just pass by? Like I'm
That's
not even
right. Yeah.
and I said,
You
like
don't
I'm not even
matter.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't matter, right? And here I was kind of like in that, and it was just wild. It was wild. You would talk to someone, and it was just very limited story, and you would, if you score some booze or whatever or drugs, whatever,
Mm,
and
mm,
and there was just freedom in that. There was no society. Even if society looked down on you, you had this. I don't know how to explain it. It was just wild. It was just super super wild, and the freedom that I tasted there was didn't have any conditions.
no, they didn't have
Yeah,
to be a certain way.
yeah.
Even at this like it's basically a recovery center for veterans, homeless vets.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. Even here, there's like this. We're going towards something. We're building ourselves back up, and
Yeah,
I'm just like, yeah, but I'm not.
yeah,
Nothing's happening for me. Like I'm not. That's not happening here.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's kind of part of the story too.
yeah,
And the thing is, whether that happens or not, because I see it all as being nothing now. So even
yeah,
getting different things, like someone just gave me like a new phone the other day
yeah. Wow,
for
wow.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll take it.
Yeah,
And
it,
I'm
it
like,
doesn't matter anymore. Whatever
yeah,
seems to appear, right? It's like
yeah,
when even this speaking, what I'm saying, like, my YouTube channel, I don't really have any attachment to it. Um,
mm,
no attachment, if it ends tomorrow, it ends tomorrow because it didn't even happen. And it's just that, but I
mm,
love, speaking about something that cannot be talked about, but it's also nothing. It also means nothing. But go ahead. Yeah.
yeah.
Nothing really
And
matters. It's
I've
it's when you lose everything, it's a loss, right? It's when you lose
yeah,
you, there's no more to hold on to. Well, there's no
there really
you
isn't.
to lose in the
It's
first
just
place. Yeah,
it's so bewildering.
it
It's like
is.
I can remember all these such like they felt at the time like very profound things. And I'm talking like almost every single time I smoked weed or did some sort of drug, I would have another
Yeah,
extreme like experience. Like
yeah.
my drug of choice was Molly, or at least street Molly.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and that
yeah.
that really
We used
you'd
to
get
call it ecstasy back in my days when I was a raver.
yeah, yeah. Well, basically what they have on the street is mostly like fentanyl, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so that stuff,
I haven't
A,
tried that one.
that's what I OD'd on.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Now with that, that was mixed with Spike. So
Oh, oh.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this
Yeah, yeah.
story.
Tell
This
me,
was
tell me the
actually,
story. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think I might have mentioned it on one of the chats, but I don't even
yeah,
really remember. So my friend offered me it. It was like a little pipe,
yeah.
and I'd already smoked some earlier that day. With
Hmm.
Spike, if you don't trip on it, or if I wasn't tripping, something else was going on, which was like basically I felt lost wherever I was. Like I'd be walking down a street and not recognize it.
Yeah.
Um, but this time, apparently, it had fentanyl in it. And I said, all right, I've never OD'd off this stuff, never been
Yeah.
hospitalized. Fuck it. Five, four, three, two, one,
Oh,
blackout. Complete
wow.
blackout. Gone.
Yeah.
Like just gone. And 7 hours of just hell. That's what it felt like.
Wow.
Now, for a couple of those hours, there was just complete blackness. I didn't even remember.
Yeah.
But for like the first couple hours, I don't know how long it was. Again, this was like a very large chunk of time in which I just wasn't there. Um, at least conceptually, that's what I felt. Oh, I'm not there. Now,
Yeah.
when I blacked out, all I can say is that I remember being in the hospital. So
Yeah.
apparently, I got to the hospital. I don't know
Yeah.
how. I just was there.
Yeah.
They put IVs in my arm, and I thought they were giving me lethal injection. That's from the spike, at least.
Yeah.
That's what I was hallucinating. That I talked about the MRI machine feeling like an oven. I thought they were
Yeah.
putting me in like one of those, yeah, to like
Yeah.
cremate
Yeah.
me.
That must have been hell, right? Like,
It
wow.
was terrible. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
I was hallucinating. I
Yeah.
understand that that's not what was going on,
Yeah.
but that's what I was seeing it as.
Yeah.
Now, while I was in this state, whatever it was, I somehow detached from the body,
Yeah.
and I could see my body like almost from behind my head,
Yeah.
like here,
Yeah.
and I didn't. I don't know if it ever went back. I don't know if it ever went back to that, like
Yeah.
the way it
That, that
was.
was
I
that
can't
was the
say
end of
it.
the story. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
I was like seeing the room,
Yeah.
but it was just the room,
Yeah.
and there where my body was, and
Yeah.
I could still feel pain.
Yeah.
I was seeing it. I just couldn't tell where it was seeing it from. Now, right, like right now,
Yeah.
it feels like it's from here, like from the
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
But that's
But
obvious that
but
that's an
there's nothing
illusion.
behind those eyes. That's
There's
kind of
nothing
what's
behind the eyes.
freaky.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of what's freaky, right? There's no one seeing this. I can't even explain that, right? Because I tried to explain it. Talking about, right? It's like, what is this?
Well, anytime I ask someone about like seeing from like the first person experience, they're
Yeah.
like, "What are you talking about? Like, what does that even mean?"
Yeah.
Well, like if you've ever played a first person shooter,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
you're
used to
you're
be
you're
I used to be
seeing from
chronic and
their
played
eyes.
GoldenEye like nonstop.
Yeah. Well, I
Have
don't, I
you
don't know
played
what
that
that is,
game?
but
It's like a
no.
James Bond PlayStation game. But go ahead, sorry.
I played a lot of like Halo and Call of Duty and stuff. So
So
for
that's the
me,
origin of like Call of Duty is GoldenEye back in
oh
the
really?
1900s. Yeah.
19 the early 1900s, 1920, yeah. Um, so there's first person shooters and then
Yeah.
there's third person games. So like
Yeah.
GTA 5,
Yes.
where you have the camera behind the character
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and somehow the first person is like you are looking through the eyes of this character.
Yeah.
And just saying that right there, you are looking through the eyes of
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but there's no one looking through the eyes. So
Yeah.
whatever. That's that's how I guess you could say it feels like, yeah, it's being seen right now. So
Yeah.
if I like close one eye and look down, I can see the bridge of the nose, right?
Yes.
I look at the
Yeah.
reflection. Oh, here's the nose right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Huh. I can look down and there's my hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then trying to imagine someone else seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, if they're all in my head,
Yeah.
then yeah, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
and I think I was telling you, I was starting to say something earlier about there are two I's. There's
Yeah.
I, the letter I,
The letter I. Yeah. Yeah.
referring
Yeah.
to self,
Yeah.
and then there's two I's.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's and both are illusions.
Exactly. I and I
Yeah,
are both
I and I.
illusory. Yeah. I and I are both
Now,
illusory. Yeah.
another thing with the eyes that I kind of figured this out too was close one eye and don't touch your eye itself, but like if I move the eye around,
Yeah.
the room moves.
Oh, I did.
So if
Oh,
you
yeah,
kind of like,
yeah, yeah,
the room moves. So it's kind of obvious. It's like, okay, the eye, when you would say there's no separation between what's being seen and the
yeah,
eyes that are seeing
yeah,
it,
yeah,
yeah. So the room and the eye are the same. But then if you close your eyes,
yeah,
now there's nothing there,
yeah.
and yet there's still something there apparently.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So it's visible and invisible. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
Yeah,
the hallucination or the illusion is the visuals,
yeah.
and the seeming kind of like untouchable, unknowing, noble is the blank simultaneously appearing, right?
Simultaneously, and it's like,
Yeah.
so the
And you
illusion
can't
is
and
that
you
there's
can't
no
even think
illusion.
of that, right? Because it's
No,
unthinkable. And I don't even know how I can say that. Because there's
I tried to just I just tried to, but it's still, it's like, even when you close your eyes and you think, okay,
yeah,
fingers, am I touching these fingers
yeah,
together? Well, really, it just kind of feels like there's just a point there,
yeah, yeah. And
or
again, you
not
know
even a
what?
point. It's like no separation between them. I don't.
What was really obvious here was when one time I was, this is when it was brand new. This is like the first month, right? I was lying down. Really, it was just the silence was just
Yeah.
so loud, you know. And then I saw like my chest rising, and I freaked out. I'm like, "What's that?" It was just my chest rising. You know what I'm saying? It's just this because it's almost
Yeah.
like reorienting, right? Because it's like, oh, it's like I got factory reset and all of this
Yeah.
illusory stuff that I had an explanation for. I don't have any explanation anymore. So I could not even say anything about anything anymore. I'm like, at a loss for words. I had a
Completely.
one-on-one earlier, and this guy, like I think about 15 minutes into the session, he was like, I'm at a loss for words because I don't know what to say. You know what I'm
Which
saying?
is where the freedom is too.
That's where the
So it
freedom
doesn't
is.
matter, like
Yeah,
the words. I mean, you're at a loss for words, but then you can really just say whatever at that point. It doesn't matter.
exactly. Exactly. And that's why
That's
there's
what it's
just
like. I can talk so well now. It's like it just comes
likewise.
up. It just comes out. It doesn't matter.
I completely forgot about this, but this is just another story. But my mom was reminding me that when I was a little kid, I wrote poetry in my own
Mm,
language in Tagalog, right, in Philippines. And then I won, yeah, and I won a competition when I was a kid, and she would watch me do this poetry stuff, right? I've forgotten about that. And
mm,
when I do my introductions, it's poetry now, and it doesn't matter. It's just art because what is being expressed does not really have any kind of definition or any kind of. It's kind of like what you're doing, which is brilliant. You know what I'm saying? Which is like the. I appreciate the art in. I heard briefly one of your track, right? So are you planning to do a video? Do you have a YouTube video, Joe? Are you still there, Joe?
here, apparently, apparently.
Do you have a YouTube video?
um, no. So that's the thing, is like, that seems to be like the biggest barrier, is actually getting, is like, so like I see it as like, okay, there's content creation, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know like what to create necessarily. So there seems to be like that, like, still happening. If you would ask, like, so what seems to be happening? Well, a lot of nothing. I seem to really like to watch YouTube
yeah,
more than like put stuff on there.
yeah,
Um, Same thing with like making beats and
yeah,
rapping, is like it comes up, but it's really more of just like a for fun thing now. For a
yeah.
while I was like, I actually had stuff on SoundCloud. I was putting stuff on Spotify. I had a TikTok,
Yeah,
Instagram, and all that. I was completely in it.
yeah.
And when I became homeless, I actually lost like my phone, and there was like
Oh,
200 beats on there or something like
oh
that.
no. Yeah.
Like 200 beats. That's how I made all my beats too, through a GarageBand,
Oh wow, cool.
like a little app.
Yeah,
Um, Once I lost that phone, that was kind of like the end of that whole thing. Like
yeah.
I had stuff on SoundCloud. It was like 16 songs, I think, and they were all monetized.
Oh wow,
I was able to make money off of it. Yeah, I was that far into it.
wow.
And then
And this is just a
That was
story,
part of
right?
the
It's almost
loss.
like you
That
have
was
to
part of the
lose
loss.
everything,
Yeah.
but there's no you to lose everything anymore. But all the accumulation, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like what I had was I had, I thought I had to give up all my money, saying just give it away and everything and be just
Yeah.
careless and just
Yeah.
be
That's part of it. You
generous.
think you have to give all this stuff up,
Yeah,
but it does. Yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
And now I'm like, well, that was dumb.
I would still have a big house
Like,
right now,
dang, I lost all
but
that
there's no
money.
regret. But there's no regret whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? There's no
No,
regret.
definitely
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
just what
another
it
thing,
is.
this just came up. This came up while I was also homeless. I had the unfortunate, I say unfortunate because it's like, it just kind of sucks that that all happened like at that time. I had a girlfriend and I kept trying to talk to her about non-duality.
Oh no,
It really pushed us apart, I think.
romance
You
killer.
know,
That's the
she thought I was going crazy. And I just kept saying, but it's just this, it's just this. Because to me, it was like it was so obvious that she kept looking for something.
yeah.
And I would just turn her towards me. I'd just look her right in the eyes. I'd be like,
It's just
it's
this.
just this.
Yeah, it's just
It's
this.
just this.
Yeah,
I remember this one night, this one time we were both like really high after like a night or whatever. We
yeah,
were doing drugs together,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
And um we were both really high. And we were on the street, right?
yeah.
And she said that she was like, well, I feel like we're lost. We're lost. And I'm like, we're not lost. I mean, not really. Like you can technically,
Yeah,
relatively speaking, yeah. Like, where's home? We're lost. I don't know what street this is.
yeah,
But then there's the other way of seeing it, which is how can you be lost if this is all there is?
yeah,
It's just a new street. It's just a different street you've never been on. So enjoy
yeah,
the fact that you're on this. You don't know where home is. Home isn't even really there right now.
yeah,
This is home. There was again, like with being homeless, there was so much freedom with just like I could
yeah,
help her look for whatever she's looking for. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm not looking for anything. I'm helping you look. I'm free, I
yeah.
guess.
You know what was funny, right? When I was homeless, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff, and when I had a computer that died, and it basically brought back a whole bunch of my stuff that I've been writing for a long, long time. And I was like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness, that is so clear already, right? There was already clarity there, but I didn't know what it was. I had no
yeah.
idea because you know what I'm
Same thing
saying?
with the music. It's like
Yeah.
the music that you heard that you saw on Instagram, that was from an old account. I lost that account. I couldn't
Oh,
remember the name of it. I couldn't
yeah.
remember anything about it. And I was looking it up the other day and I was like, oh my gosh. Like one of the titles was Death of Me.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
was one of the songs. I'm like, that's so ironic. It's like I literally somehow knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah. Isn't that strange? It's strange, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like I had an old blog, you know what I'm saying, and it was called The Disappearance of Me. But I didn't even know anything about, anything about like radical non-duality or Advaita or whatever. This was pre-spiritual or whatever, but I could not make of it. It's just like, what the hell is this?
Oh, okay.
It,
So I guess this was during that whole thing.
yeah, this was prior. I like during my back in the 1990s or the early 2000s, there was a lot of blogging happening, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm,
there was a lot of writing, and there's always been a writer here, that seemed to have love, expressing through writing and everything, right? But I just kept
mm,
it all in files, and I somehow kept that file in some notes that I kept up until I my computer broke down and I was able to find it all over again. But yeah, you should have a YouTube channel, man. That there's a fresh. I love the fresh take that you have on this. It's beautiful, right? There's seemingly a homogenized, seeming kind of like expression of this lately, right? And just the freshness, and there's nothing wrong or right about that, but the expression that is just
mm.
authentic. There's authenticity. Again, if there's really no one, who cares how this is communicated if there's already clarity? If you know what I'm talking about, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
It doesn't matter. There's been a couple times where I've actually started up like a channel, and I just maybe it's just because I'm not comfortable in front of a camera yet. I don't really know. It's just
Yeah,
I feel like, but I just think about that. I'm like, that just feels like an excuse. It just feels like an excuse. Like
It is. It
I'm just too
is. Yeah.
lazy to start one. I don't know.
It
I'm
is.
like, I'm like, oh, but then if I'm doing a YouTube channel, even doing like reaction channels, like I think about doing that and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's
That'd be
so
kind of
much
fun.
just a thought now. That's part of the thought is like, well, I could start up a channel or I could put my stuff on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if it's already the case, then it's probably going to happen eventually.
It is.
Probably
It is.
will.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine because I didn't think that I'd be getting another phone.
Yeah.
I thought I would, but I didn't know it was going to be this
There you
soon.
go.
And
You
it
have new
happened, apparently.
technology now to be able to upload and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
funny, right?
exactly.
I have an interview maybe 4 years ago. And I don't know why she interviewed me, but and I basically said, that I'm not, I don't think I'll ever be a speaker about this because I was a teacher before. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? No, 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 that's not going to happen. And it was by accident that I started speaking about this. So never say never. Um, it's just what is. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. It would be
yeah,
interesting just to kind of just be able to talk about this, like
yeah.
like Jim Newman, and be like with a whole group of like random nobodies, and just be like, so this
Yeah.
is it. So this is it.
Did you go to the? I think there's a Friday one. Um, I've been getting so busy lately that I've not been able to but there's a Friday nobodies, so if you want to join
Okay.
that, I guess, and just speak, yeah. But
All
yeah, I'm
right.
gonna stop the recording here, but because I have to go
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.